Hi everyone, welcome to another yoga practice with me, Korrie. You've come along today for a restorative session that will focus on the hips and hamstrings with the idea of releasing tension and maybe letting go of what no longer serves you. When you are ready, I encourage you to bring 2 blankets or small pillows approximately this size and shape onto your mat, and we will begin right here in a seated posture. Settling into a place of comfort today. That's the theme of today's session. Comfort to allow us to release. Make sure that your base is something that feels good for you. For me, cross-legged is always a posture that I love to choose, but if it doesn't feel good in your body, take something else. Maybe you're sitting on those props that you've brought. Whatever it is, take a moment to get out the wiggles, and then gently begin to close your eyes. With your eyes shut, take the first couple moments to scan the body. With the sensation of sight eliminated, we can tune in a little bit deeper to what our body is telling us. Is there a tendency to hold some tightness in the shoulders? Is your jaw clenched? Where are you holding on? Where can you get a little bit easier in your body? And then once you've discovered what your body is saying, see if you can find stillness. Beginning to welcome a breath that will help us deepen into this space, allowing it to be our anchor for today's practice. Start to inhale through the nose. Hold at the top. And softly exhale that same way. Holding once again at the bottom. Again, here with me, inhale through the nose. Pause at the top. And exhale out the nostrils. Again, pausing as you are empty. Continuing at your own pace, inhaling through the nose. As you breathe in, explore where you can expand fuller into your backside. Where can your lungs deeper inflate? Holding that full inflated sensation before very slowly and smoothly exhaling through your nose, feeling your stomach collapse or contract. For a few moments here without the sound of my voice, I invite you to draw all your focus and attention on how this breath feels as it comes and goes. What feels most natural in your body? What smoothness can you explore? Allow this to be a bit of a metronome or an anchor that keeps you on your mat. When your mind starts to wander, bring it back to these inhales and these very intentional softening exhales. As we take 3 final breaths here in this starting posture of our practice, I invite you to dedicate these breaths to releasing or eliminating any thoughts that tried to come into your body while we sat here with breath. Imagine you can place them just to the side. They're not being dismissed. They're still important, but for here and now, we're going to ask them to rest at the side. As you breathe out, imagine those thoughts leave your body, gently landing somewhere beside you, close enough that you know they're there, but not loud enough to be heard throughout today's practice. Gently starting to flutter the eyelids open, bringing movement into the hands when you feel ready. We'll slowly transition into our very first posture for today's practice. Coming into a forward fold, I'll invite you to use the props that you've brought onto the mat in different ways, and I really encourage you to find ways that feel best in your body. Our forward fold posture begins with our legs out long, this one focusing very much exclusively on the back sides of the legs into our hamstrings. You may also feel something into the lower back, lower spine, maybe your hips. A lot of us have a tendency to really curl forward as you come down. We're going to try today to draw the navel really close to the thighs. So this is where props will come in. I invite you to first start by kind of stacking up a little bit of height here so that when you lean forward, you're being supported and there's not tension building up in the shoulders. So even for me, this feels fantastic, and I'd argue my hamstrings they're all right. They're a good length in my body. So take a big breath in when you're ready with something ready in front of you, and then start to fold forward so some part of your upper chest or torso catches. We're going to ease into this nice and slow. Eventually, I will leave you with your breath and stillness to feel the sensations of the depth that we get to, but let's start here slowly together. So knowing here as we're settling in, play with what feels good for you. Maybe you're hugging onto your props because that gives you some space to fold a bit deeper, or maybe it's just simply supporting your chest and your arms can relax by your side. If there's a lot of tension coming into the bottoms of your legs, if you've got a blanket, placing it under your bum to lift you up, maybe an inch or so could work really well. So depending on where you are, if you're not feeling much in the back of your legs at this point, we can start to move our objects a little bit further forward. From here again, focusing on the idea that our rib cage, our navel, is coming closer towards our thighs. I like to have my arms kind of resting just like this, checking in that there's a softness into your legs. At this point, our body might start resisting, and that's what's not going to allow us to progress. So take a moment, scan the legs, see if you can release anywhere. Take a big breath in. As you breathe out, see if you can fold a little bit deeper. We'll take 3 breaths here, just where you are, finding softness, allowing the body to get comfortable with this shape, this depth that you've found. You can shut the eyes at any point, really come into what you are feeling. Maybe your breath moves through your body. You're scanning as the inhales come. And as the exhales leave, notice what tension or tightness can leave with them. Now, if after those 3 breaths, you're feeling like this is your edge, I invite you to stay here. Maybe you start dialing out the sound of my voice, closing your eyes and breathing deeply to rest in this exact position. If, however, you found some ease in your body and there's room to go further, maybe perhaps you bring your cushion or blanket, whatever is working in your practice, a little bit lower. For me, I'm resting my forearms onto the blankets that are on my shins. And I'm actually reaching for my toes. So this flexion is bringing a little bit deeper of a stretch to my hamstrings. And it's encouraging my rib cage to come closer to the thighs. From here, without tightening or tensing anywhere else in my body, just a gentle clasp with the hands to the feet. I'm going to shut the eyes down and begin to use my exhales to really deeply fold. Again, noticing my tendency here is to tighten into the quads. My knees feel like they want to go a little bit tight if I don't give them the attention and invitation to soften. And from here, we let gravity do the rest of the work. Closing your eyes, we'll stay here for a few moments in silence, breathing into our deepest expression of this pose. And just as we did before, taking 3 final breaths here, inviting any thoughts that wandered onto our mat during that time of stillness with this posture to simply float their way over to the side. As we progress here today on our mats, we'll not only get deeper into our physical body, but go a little deeper into the stillness that is capable in our minds. When those 3 breaths are complete for you, slowly starting to lift yourself up, maybe fluttering the eyes open if they've been shut. We'll start to make our way onto our back sides, and we'll stay here for the duration of class. I'm going to place each of my blankets to the sides of my mat, lining your props up approximately with where your shins are right now. And then gently starting to make your way onto your back side. If there's any movement or adjustments your body needs, please take it. We're coming here into our backside butterfly. We're going to use some support today. No matter how open you are in your hips, the support is still going to be incredibly valuable. We start by bringing the soles of our feet together on the earth, knees are bent. So there's a diamond shape in my legs here. I'm then going to allow my legs to rest onto my blankets, and then take a moment to soften in the upper body to get really comfortable elsewhere. Now, if you're landing in this posture and it doesn't really feel like much is happening, see if you can bring the feet closer to the groin. So you start to feel opening up a little bit more in the hips, in the inner thigh space. If you really don't feel much, see if you can go lower with your props. If you have blankets, drop them down, maybe unroll them. Alternatively, you could remove the props altogether. That's okay as well, but we're going to try to use them to find comfort. And then seeing if our hands applied a little bit of pressure, if that would allow a bit more depth. Take a moment again to scan the body, see what you need here. Make sure there's a sensation of value coming into your space. And then if you haven't done so already, shutting down the eyes, relaxing everywhere that is available to be relaxed, and coming back to those deep and mindful breaths. Scanning your body with your inhales. Where is there anything that you're holding on to? And maybe this is up in your fingers or your shoulders. As you breathe out, allow that breath to explore its way, softening as it goes. Inviting both stillness and depth into this pose. If at any point you feel like there's potential to release further into the knees, you can remove the props that are pulling you up. And if ever you want additional softness in the upper body, changing the shape of your arms is available as well. Maybe bringing them up to cactus, really landing here in an open shape. I invite you now to connect to your deepest breath as I leave you here without my words to explore this pose in your body just for a few moments. And as we've done before, looking for 3 final breaths in this posture to round out the experience by releasing anything that still remains. Perhaps it's some tension that's been holding on, or maybe it's the thoughts that came up as we lay here in stillness. As you exhale for 3 final rounds, let anything that resides or continues to pop up, let it go. When those breaths complete in your body, closing your knees like you would a book, soles of the feet down to the earth. And then if it feels good to do so, drawing the knees in towards the chest, giving yourself a nice big hug, interlacing the fingers, maybe you rock from right to left. From here, we're coming into a twist. So we've left the blankets or props where they were intentionally. And we'll start with our right knee staying close to our chest, extending the left leg really long. Let the left heel release onto the earth, make it soft and easy, and then take a moment or two to round out in the right hip if your body needs it. When you feel good and ready to do so, placing your left hand onto the outside of the right knee, start to guide it over towards the left side. So here I've really peeled my right hip off of the earth, and I'm using this blanket here to support me. This will allow my right shoulder to come down onto the earth, having my chest facing as much upward as possible. The extra weight or pressure onto the right knee brings more depth and has a twisting and opening sensation in the lower back and into the right glute, possibly into the hamstring on your right side. When you have found the sensation in the lower body that feels good, allowing the eyes to dial down, and then focus on the right shoulder. If it needs a little extra support, you can bring your blanket on the right side up to support you there. Otherwise, see if you can bring the right arm into cactus or extend it nice and long towards the right, turning your gaze in that direction as well. Again, first couple breaths here, scan the body. Notice if there's anything you are holding on to in this shape. Inviting those exhales to softly release. Staying here for a few moments, without the sound of my breath, I invite you to really explore what feels best in your body. And before we progress on to the other side, taking those 3 final breaths to invite the most amount of depth that your body can offer by releasing anything that still lingers. When you feel complete on this side, you will gently roll onto your back once again, inviting the knees into the chest, maybe rocking from right to left. You can do all this with eyes still closed, really feeling into every sensation. And then we'll begin to transition to the other side. This time, allowing the right leg to go nice and long down the mat, extending it so that the heel relaxes, that every bit of the right thigh is at ease. You can take a moment to play around with the left bent leg, rounding out into the hip. And then drawing the right hand to the outside of the left knee, guiding your left knee over to the right side. Just as we did on the first side, peeling that left hip up and away towards the right, finding that real deep feeling of rotation in the mid-body. Right hand is a gentle reminder to allow the left knee to get heavy over to the right, and then doing our best to square off the shoulders. Left one comes down, left arm extends to a place that feels good. Eyes dialing down once again if they've fluttered open, gazing towards the left, beginning to breathe deeply and mindfully in through the nose and out that same way. These first couple breaths on this side are our exploration to see if we need to adjust what feels best. How does that support show up for us? And then once you've found the stillness that your body craves, tuning everything else out and bringing it right back to our breath, to our anchor, finding a variation of this pose that serves you right now. And then just as we did on the other side, 3 final breaths to explore the deepest variation that is capable in our body at this moment. What can you let go of physically or in your thoughts to allow your exhales to go that bit further? When you are complete, gently drawing the knees back in towards your chest, giving yourself a nice little hug here. For our next pose, we're going to focus on the groin and inner thighs. We'll start by bringing the feet down to the mat, knees are bent, and then just with a gentle lift, we'll bring the hips up and place one of our objects or possibly 2 underneath your back, depending on how much support feels best for you. For me, it's just a little bit of support that feels best in my body, but I invite you for these first few moments to explore. So once you've got that object there, release your hips down. Make sure that the hip bones feel square. I like to round the shoulders out so that I'm really feeling supported in the upper body as well. Hands can go into the tummy or somewhere nearby. And then we'll start to pick up the knees so that they're aligned with the hips and then spread them wide. So making a nice big V shape. What might happen here is that the knees will shift forwards or backwards. We want to really feel a nice deep stretch in the inner thighs here, keeping the knees and hips somewhat aligned with each other. Now from here, I like to place my hands on my inner thighs to encourage more depth. But if you're feeling any tightness or restriction in the inner thighs, instead bring your hands outside for support. Now the last thing to keep in mind before we close down the eyes and dial up the breath is the placement of the shins. So I like to have them parallel to the ground and somewhat parallel to each other, a flexion into the feet. This is to protect our knees. If at any point you feel discomfort in the knee space, soften wherever you can, bring a deeper flexion to the feet. So coming into center with your gaze, hands in the place that serves your lower body here. With the deepest sensation of feel into the inner thighs, into the groin, closing down your eyes and deeply inhaling and exhaling through the nose. Of all our poses visited today, this one will be the shortest. So So doing what you can here to find the beneficial stretch and release while feeling the support that is available, both by the prop underneath the small of your back and by using those hands in a way that feel good for you. And just like that, we'll find 3 final breaths, exactly as you are, inviting in depth through those intentional exhales that release tension, distraction, or thoughts. And when those breaths complete for you, very slowly encouraging your knees to close together and then gently dropping your feet onto the earth. Coming here into our supported bridge pose. This is our final held active posture before we dial it down into Savasana, or our pose of rest. If this is a place that's feeling good, soften anywhere you can. Maybe your knees fall into each other. Or perhaps you want just a little bit more today. You can either relocate yourself closer to a wall and use that for support, still with the blanket underneath your hips or a pillow if that's what you've been using. I invite you to come instead into waterfall position. To the best of our abilities, has the feet hovering on top of the hips and a real sense of lightness or ease into the legs. If you need a little extra support under your hips here because of that adjusted posture, added in here. And now we're going to stay for a while, so you want to find whatever support feels good in your body. Scanning here and then dialing down the eyes, coming back to your beautiful, fullest version of breath. Softening here, inviting things to move in a little different way in our body. With our feet and hips high, the body gets a chance to explore something just a little bit different. A calming sensation arises. Feel the calming warmth and ease flow through your body. Again, inviting your exhales to take you a little bit deeper. Ensuring this practice serves you exactly as you are today, I invite you to either take 3 final breaths in your variation of a hip risen posture, so whether that is our supported bridge, waterfall like I'm demonstrating here, or supported waterfall with your legs resting up against a wall. And then when those complete, coming into Savasana, our backside rest pose. That being said, if the posture you're in right now is serving you and feels really comfortable, I invite you to stay. So again, leading by a choice that works for your body, either staying as you are, or slowly coming down to a backside position that will serve as your final pose of reflection, of rest and easiness. If you've been using a blanket, it's really nice to have that placed over top of your body. A bit of weight brings an extra sense of ease and rest into our muscles. Perhaps today you place your hand onto your stomach to really feel that connection and depth with your breath. Or maybe you're feeling open to the possibility of the release that has taken place, and you place the palms facing upwards, somewhere down beside you. When you are ready, the eyes soften. Stillness and a quietness lands onto your mat, where the only thing to be doing in this moment is breathing deeply in through the nose and breathing out calmly that same way. Without adjusting or changing anything else, very slowly, I invite you to place your palms face down on top of your heart space. With the noise and tension removed from your body, can you feel a little deeper here? Connecting to what our body needed today, listening by tuning in and easing into every pose. We find a bit of softness to listen a little bit more intently to our needs, to our wants, tuning into our values. Wrapping up here our time together with a moment to pause and reflect onto your purpose of practice. What is it that brings you to your mat? What form of gratitude can you find for your body, for this time that it has given you here today? Taking one final deep breath in as you acknowledge this purpose of practice. Together we exhale through the mouth. Namaste.